Welcome back to the Tuxes and Tomahawks podcast. My name is Adam Dorito, and today I have an exciting guest, Kijuan Amey, the CEO of Amey Motivation, and he's got quite the inspiring story. I read up on him before he came on the show. He reached out to me a few weeks ago, and it is an absolute honor to bring on another Air Force veteran to talk about, his life, what inspired him to serve, and what he's doing now, and what led to that situation. So, Kijuan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, Adam, I appreciate you having me on. It's a pleasure.
So, look, I was an Air Force guy back in the day. I went to the Air Force Academy. For some reason, I thought that was a good idea, and now I'm in the Army, so you figure how that worked out. But what motivated you to serve your country and join the Air Force in your young career?
So motivation is one word to use, but it was kind of like the alternative. And the reason I say that is because I was originally going to go to go do my studies in college. I wanted to be a software or a computer engineer. And me being from North Carolina, the two best schools for that were North Carolina State University as well as North Carolina A&T. So I was, trying to get into those schools, but an admission hiccup turned me towards the military. And I also have plenty of military family, mostly Navy. I had one Army that I never met. I never met him. He's my great uncle. I never met him. He passed away. But one Coast Guard. And then I was the one who changed the whole trajectory and went Air Force. And now my youngest brother, he followed my footsteps and went Air Force as well. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, how did you end up there? I actually went to the Navy recruiter first because, like I said, a lot of my family was Navy. They were Navy. And so he talked me out of joining the Navy. You know how he did that?
How?
By not answering my questions.
There you go. That's all it takes.
See ya. Gotta go. You're wasting my time. The one thing he kept trying to push me towards was, hey, let's talk about some jobs. Hey, I know I need a job in order to be in the military. Sir, I asked you about the GI Bill because I'm trying to get schooling paid for.
Yeah.
I don't know how this works. Can you explain it? And so he never explained it. He just handed me a pamphlet. I said, okay, I'll show you what I'm going to do with this pamphlet when I walk out of your door.
So what year did you join the Air Force?
Yeah, I joined in February of 2011.
Oh, okay. So that was like literally 1 year after I left the academy. So like we were kind of in the same time frame of service. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I joined in February 2011. I was in the recruiter's office though, June of 2010. So that's how long it took for me to get in.
That was literally like right after graduation for us, like June 2010. So that's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. So you went down to Lackland obviously because you were on the enlisted side, right?
Yes.
And explain your lovely experience at Lackland in the time of turmoil in 2010 because that was a very interesting time to be in the military, like with the Afghanistan stuff going on. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was so beautiful, Lackland. Oh man, yeah, I tell you, no better base in the world. If I had to do it all over again, I would. I'll put it that way. It was not as terrible as I thought. I was used to being yelled at. I was used to being yelled at home. So If you think I'm the nicest or the best kid ever, no, that wasn't me. I used to get in trouble, but not like your your average Joe trouble, like you're out here running the street stuff. No, I'm getting in trouble in class because I talk too much. I won't shut up, or I'm talking back. Those types of things where I'm getting in trouble at home. And I've actually had a teacher fired before, or no, I'm sorry, not fired, but quit before because I would not give up, man. And so, yeah, that was probably the worst whooping in my life when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving forward, man. Excuse me, Lackland was it was different, of course, because now I'm with anywhere from 40 to 50 other people,
Hmm.
males, in a dorm. And I'm like, you guys are way worse off than I am. Like, not everybody, but you know what I mean. You're like, holy, where did you come from? And so, as we're in these dorms for the next maybe month and a half, whatever you want to call it, because they keep changing the timeline for boot camp for the Air Force.
Yeah.
Um, it
And
was
this is before the Space Force came around too, so you
very
still
much,
had it all to yourself.
very, very much so. Um, and so, excuse me, I was in the 323rd Training Squadron, and I was actually in band flight. I was one of those people who raised their hands. You remember how they tell you don't volunteer for anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. And they were like, "Does anybody know how to play an instrument?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I can't."
You never volunteer yourself in the military. You always get stuck doing dumb shit.
When he said, "Well, that can't," I was sitting here thinking that can't be harmful. Playing an instrument? Ah, okay, yeah, sure. I played an instrument. What did you play? I played drums. Okay, come over here. I was like, all right, grab my bag. I was tired of sitting there anyway because it was in this big old auditorium and we had been there all night. I'm tired. Been flying all day since early that morning. I am tired. Just let me go. That's all
Yeah.
I cared about. So anyway, you know, it was a it was a culture shock at first because now I have to learn what the Air Force is.
Hmm.
Everything I knew before this, it's gone. It's gone. It's now you are Air Force. Okay, you got your name, your last name on your chest, but you got U.S. Air Force across the other side. If you read it from left to right, you're reading that first before you read that last name.
Yep.
So I definitely was all about it. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I raised my hand and swore in, it was go time. I mean, my mom took a video of that and she was like, "Your face was so serious." I was like, "I thought it was a serious moment." So that's what I did. I made it a serious moment, and I wanted to make everybody, not just me, not just my family, but the country. I want to make everybody proud.
Well, I mean, and you're joining in a time of war too. 2010 was no joke. There was a lot of stuff going on in Afghanistan and Iraq, and you had the Obama administration, all the drone strikes going on. So like you knew what you were getting yourself into. You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean? So you volunteer to join drums, you get down there, but like, how the heck did you end up in your AFSC? And talk about what you decided to do as a job in the Air Force.
First and foremost, I scored high on the ASVAB. That's the first thing I
That was your
did.
first problem.
No, I did not want the low. I did not want the low level jobs. That's for sure. I wanted to fly. I
Yeah.
was like, well, if I'm going to the Air Force, I might as well do it the heck they're known for. You know. And so so they had us take a practice test
Hmm.
on the computer right there in the recruiter's office. I scored the minimum just taking that practice test with no, like, I mean, cold turkey. And he was like, take this CD because we're a little bit advanced now. He's
Yeah.
like, take this CD and I want you to study hard for 2 weeks and to come back to me. We're gonna get you on this test. And I said, okay. And dude, I think I scored like I can't remember if it was 78 or 87. It's one of the two because they look the same and my brain
Well, you
gets
need like
flipped around.
32 for infantry, so you're far, far above as in like you said, in the Air
Absolutely.
Force.
Absolutely. So anyway, He calls me as soon as he gets my results. He's like, I need you to come in. Can you come in right now? I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. He's like, right now. I said, I'm on the way. And so I jump in my car, let my mom know where I'm going because she was like, "Where are you rushing off to?" And I was like, "Oh, the recruiter called me, and I guess he's got some jobs for me. I don't know. I'm just going to talk to him." And so I go. This dude had about 7 or 8 pages front and back
Mhm.
of jobs. I'm like,
Just flipping through the clipboard.
he
Whatever
had
you
already
want.
highlighted. He had already highlighted something before I got there. And so he was like, I don't want you to do anything that's not highlighted. I'm telling you, you're not going to be interested in it. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
He's like, I know. And so I'm going to look and I'm flipping. I'm like, okay, I know what that is. I don't want that. Aerial gunner, no. I'm just,
Oh,
load
come on. You,
master.
you want to go hang out with the AFSOC dudes and start ripping around in pave loads and just start minigunning dudes?
Absolutely not. Because that'll put me closer to the gunfire.
Yeah, there you go.
So then I see Loadmaster. That's what I see first. I'm like, hey, what's this Loadmaster thing? He's like, oh, that's where you're flying around and wherever. It doesn't matter where. You can go all the way to Antarctica with that. And you're dropping, payloads or cargo out the aft hatch and all these different things. And I was like, okay, flying around cargo. That is kind of what I want to do is fly around. And he was like, I got one for you. You ever heard of in-flight refueling? I said, no. What's that? And he turns around to his computer and pulls up the video, and that video just comes on. He slides out of the way, and I'm like, "What? Wait, that's a real job?" I said, come on, man. Where am I doing this from? What remote location am I doing this from? Like somewhere in Nevada, in the desert? Like there's no way that's really on a plane somewhere. He's like, no, seriously. He's like, just wait, watch the video. You'll see a real guy in the back of that plane. And I'm just watching the video because at first it's just, people pulling up and all this other stuff or planes pulling up. And this is
Yeah.
basically like for the listeners, this is basically like a flying gas station,
Yeah.
basically. No commercial airliners do this, so don't become afraid of those people who are already afraid of flying.
Yeah.
You're not doing this in the commercial world. This is all military, and only about it's a handful of countries that do it, literally. And
And we
so
trained them all how to do it, and they're still using most of our assets, minus the UK, where they use some weird shit like the Nimrod or something over there. So
yeah, they use MIPers. We adopted it too, but whatever. And so the French created that, the MIPers.
yeah.
And so anywho, I'm watching a video and I finally see a guy in the back of the plane and he's like so laser focused on the backside of that plane. I'm like, what is he looking? And then they pan the camera outside and he was looking at a fighter. I said, oh, that's
Pretty cool,
cool.
man. You get to see every asset that the Air Force has coming up and taking a drink.
Yeah, man. Like, so not just fighters, but you got your bombers, your cargo planes, like I already mentioned with the Loadmaster thing, and reconnaissance. I can even refuel other tankers that are refueling capable.
Yep.
So there's so much, man. It's so crazy. I wish I could have got the chance to refuel the SR-71,
Oh man,
but
that would have been yeah. That thing was out of service by the time you got in, but yeah, that
yeah,
thing's
I'm
wild because they had a specialty KC-135 with special fuel bladders with special fuel just for that aircraft.
yeah, the
That was
Q
that was a
model.
wild flight program. So
Yeah, it's called the Q model. So, but anyway, the the funny part about it, if you go watch any refueling videos with the KC-135 and the SR-71, you'll see as soon as they start pumping that gas, it's coming right out the back.
yeah, because it's got to speed up super fast to expand the titanium to seal the fuel tanks.
Well, the thing was, that's what caused it. So they would be flying so fast to get to AR
Hmm.
that now when they slow down, everything's expanded.
Yeah,
And so it's just
that's
coming
gotta
out.
make you poop your pants though, because you're the pilot going like, as soon as you start slowing down to land or you're taking off, you're like, I only got like a certain amount of time. Like
Mhm.
you better get to the tanker in time,
Yeah.
and you
Oh yeah.
better land.
Listen, man, those
You don't
those
get go
things were
arounds.
those things were dope. The SR-71s. I saw a video of one before I lost my eyesight. We'll get into,
Hmm.
and that they were they had did a run on something, and then uh, well, I'm trying to remember if it was French or something. Some fighter came up on their wing and was like, calling them over the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And it was trying to tell them, hey, you guys are basically in our airspace. Y'all need to either leave or it's time for you to land. We're going to escort you back. I kid you not. This is verbatim. The guy said, one of the SR-71 guys looks out the window and he was out his left wing.
Mm-hmm.
So he looks out his window, throws up a middle finger.
Yeah, come catch me.
Before they could even think about catching up to him, they were out of their borders.
So when you were refueling, what was your favorite aircraft to refuel?
F-22, hands down.
F-22s? Yeah,
hands down.
Yeah, a couple of my friends are F-22 pilots. Actually, so did you ever see the video of when they're off the back of the tanker and they're talking about Chick-fil-A?
No,
yeah,
I've never seen it.
Yeah, that's actually a cadet that was in my squadron, Doug Foss. So he's sitting up in the back, and they're like over Iraq or Syria or whatever when we were over there. And like, hey man, what's up? Yeah, we're going back to the base, and like, I think they're bringing us in Chick-fil-A today. I don't know how they did that. And they were talking about like dipping sauces and stuff. And this is like this F-22 just ripping around the desert, and they're just like casually talking about like how Chick-fil-A is gonna send them a bunch of free sauce and stuff. Like, it was really funny. All right, guys, be right back. I'm gonna go bomb some insurgents. Just flips over and just drops it out of the sky. Like that's just like such cool fighter pilot culture and stuff,
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. We've definitely had it where you get, I forget what they do, but they clip something either into the intercom system, or you could throw something in your headset if you want to like record and listen, like mic up on what you're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they can hear all that chatter across the radio.
Yeah.
And so we've done that before. It's been some cool like Finny flights that we've done like that. And people are, doing their last air refueling and they're like, well, boom is being stowed for one last time, and then they're checking off stuff like that, man. It's cool stuff that we've done. It's beautiful. I love the camaraderie.
What people underestimate is that the reason why the United States military is so powerful and so good at what we do is our logistics. Yeah, we have some cool combat stuff. We got bombs and missiles and stuff, but so does everybody else. What increases our capability to make us nearly unstoppable to be anywhere in the world within like 72 hours, basically, is our air refueling and cargo transport capability. I mean, we can put a Burger King in Syria in 24 hours. That's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like no other country can do that. You know what I mean? And it's just our support guys and our logistics guys. Like, because I'm technically a support guy. Like I was a parachute rigger in special forces, and then and I was an intel guy. But like I said, bombs don't drop and no one knows where to go unless we're doing our job, right? And I think support and especially air refueling is completely underestimated about how actually severely important it is to our logistical chain in combat.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there are some amazing stories in regards to air refueling and how it saved fighters' lives, just anything, how they needed one more refueling just to make it home, and no tanker in sight. And then you get one that just pulls up out of nowhere because we coordinated it from ground and we were already airborne, had extra fuel on board. It's so amazing the different things that happen, man. And I'm not sure if you ever heard that story. I think it was an F4 Phantom that was almost about to literally be scrap metal for the Atlantic, man.
Mm-hmm.
And the fighter was ready to punch out. His engine started basically failing on him. And so he was basically puttering.
Yeah.
Trying to keep, full throttle. And I mean all the way firewall. And that sucker was just descending. Mm-hmm. He's doing everything he can. And so now they're following a tanker. It's like 4 of them or 3 or 4 of them or something, but they're following a tanker. And he's like, hey, I got a guy losing his engine. Hey, can we get somebody on the... He's like, what? And so now they, boom checks off and jets to the back. And he's like, oh, shoot. So he lowers the boom. And this guy's... It's like, he's descending at a high rate.
Yeah.
And so we're like, all right, let's hit a toboggan, see what we can do. And for people that don't know what toboggan means, that's basically where you're descending and trying to refuel at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so they're descending. He's doing his best to keep up.
Yeah.
And so, it was to the point where the boom operator said he could literally see fish jumping out of the water.
Yeah, no. That'll grow some hair on your chest.
Listen,
Yeah, it's a little concerning.
yeah, the fighter pilot said I literally had already marked where I was last. I last was. He was like he was ready to mark and punch,
Hmm.
and that's what they do. They mark where they were, and then they punch out. That's what they eject.
Yep.
And so he was like he was ready to go, and then the boom operator they tried like 2 or 3 times to get him connected, and I think on that it was like he was like, all right guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and punch. And he was like, hold on, one more try, and he was like and got him, and he said climb, and he yelled, he was like climb because he had him. He had just got got the boom latched in, and he told him to climb, and they just literally started going right back up.
Just started
And they had to
dragging
hold
this
on him.
jet behind him.
They literally had to hold him the rest of the flight until they got to some land in Europe. And when they got to the base or wherever they were landing, you go as low as you can with the fighter in tow, and then you say, "Hey, all right, getting ready to disconnect whenever you're ready." He's like, okay, 3, 2, 1, and then he'll disconnect, and then he's going on to the runway.
Yeah, you got
That's
one
literally
shot,
how
dude.
close.
You got
Yeah,
one shot at that. You don't get to do a go
exactly.
around on that one.
No, man, our guys are so precise and just we're just amazing at what the training and the attention to detail. It's amazing.
There was another one I remember from the Air Force Academy. He was in Vietnam, and he was another F4 story, of course. But he was losing an engine too over a combat zone. So what he did was is he dropped his hook, his arresting hook, because even the
Mm,
Air Force ones had arresting hooks on them, like the Navy ones.
mm.
And the other F4 came up behind him and punched it into the front of his windshield and was pushing him out because he was
Whoa.
losing an engine and was rolling like full afterburner trying to push this jet to get him over to the ocean to this so he could bail out and or make it back to base or whatever. But like, yeah,
Wow.
some of those pilots, I know a lot of people give shit to Air Force guys, especially more in modern sense. But like, I don't know, man. Like some of the stories you hear about the heroes that fly and do these missions and stuff, it's just absolutely incredible.
Hmm.
So what was next for you? What was your deployments like? Like what did you do when you were overseas? Like how did that all come about?
Yeah, deployments. My first one. So I got to my first duty station, which was Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in North Carolina. I got there. What was that? April? Yeah, April of 2012, when I was finally done with all of my training and everything. I'm finally at my first duty station. Remember, April of 2012. In June of 2012, I was in the desert.
Yep, that's how it goes.
Listen, I did not feel ready at all. I was like, wait, where is everybody? Where is my instructor? I need one. And they were like, you know how to do all these forms. Now it's just time for you to input it, sign your name to it, that kind of stuff. And I said, well, if I screw something up, hopefully my pilot got my back. But he did, man. He was an awesome guy. Shout out to Brandon McSwain and also Jamal Neal. That was my first crew for my first deployment.
Hmm.
And man, it was an awesome crew. First and foremost, we had a tight knit crew, even to the point where we worked out together. We were so tight knit.
That's so important. Like when you go
Yeah,
overseas, man, just staying together as a unit, working out, eating together. Like people underestimate how important that is when you're overseas.
yeah, no, for sure. So that was my first deployment to the deed, or Qatar, as some know it as. Let's see, I would have 3 to that location, and then I also had that same year, 2012 October, I had a counter what do you call it? Counter drug intelligence or something like that,
Hmm.
um, deployment to Curacao.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was what for those who don't know what that is, it's called the ABC Islands, and it's right above Venezuela. So you have
Nice.
Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. So we did that. That was partnered with a AWACS,
Hmm.
and Man, I've never flown shorter missions in my life. Like they were so quick because all we're doing is refueling them. They're already airborne. They've been up there for like, I don't know, 8 hours already.
Yeah.
And then we just go up there and refuel them, and they're up there for another, I don't know, 4 to 6 hours. That would have been brutal to me, but that's their job.
Yeah, but at least you have a bathroom on your plane.
Yeah,
Everyone
they do
underestimates
too.
that. It's like, oh yeah, you could do flips and stuff, and you can do some stuff, but you want to know what? I got a bathroom and I got an oven, and I can make cookies on this bitch. And you
You
guys
know
don't.
what's
So
funny? You know what's so funny about that, Adam? Is somebody just introduced me the other day on a podcast. They said, "Oh yeah, I believe he's a fighter pilot. He'll correct me on that here in a second." I said, "I'm definitely going to correct you on that because I loved walking around my plane."
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I
People
said,
underestimate that. I've flown on plenty of freaking cargo planes, and you want to know what? Except like the one thing I hated flying the KC-135 sometimes because you had to you were either if you lay on the floor, it's freezing cold,
"Oh,
right?
absolutely."
But if you sit on the pallets, then it's boiling hot because there is no HVAC in that freaking plane, and you're either sweating or you're freezing. So, like, I just put my sleeping bag on the ground and I roll in a sleeping bag because I'd rather be colder than hotter. And some of the guys are sleeping on the pallets and they're like, it's like Ace Ventura and like, oh, it's a little hot in these rhinos, sweating
Oh yeah.
bullets,
Oh, that's
sitting
so
on top.
funny,
Yeah, sitting on top of those freaking pallets in the packed in the back of that cargo space back there. So,
dude. What I will tell you is one of the better spots to sleep. It's kind of eerie because of where it is, but one of the better spots to sleep that a lot of the air crew, the 135 air crew members know about is getting a hammock and
there
putting
you
it
go.
right
That's the
and
move right
putting it
there.
right in front of the cargo door because the arms that open the cargo door are
Hmm.
perfect for a hammock length.
See, that's the move right there. That's the move. Is the
Trust
hammock?
me,
You can never
yeah, dude,
underestimate
I
that.
slept so good in that hammock. And it was a banana hammock. Oh gosh, I slept so good in that thing. I didn't want to get out when they came and woke me up. I said, I don't feel like it. Can somebody else keep flying for me?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was awesome though. But like I say, I'm not trying to sit in the same seat for 6 to 8 hours at a time.
Yeah.
That's what fighters do.
Hmm.
6 to 8 hours. You can't go anywhere.
No, you cannot.
So yeah, let me stretch my legs. I'm too tall for that.
So what was next for you? Like post deployment, everything else. Like things are going great for you in the Air Force, and then what happens?
Yeah, post deployment. So I did all of my deployments active duty. I did 4 years active. That two in that 1 year, and then yeah, whoa, that's interesting. I did do only four. Anyway, yeah, and then I Palace chased. And for those who don't know what that means, that is where you have not fully committed or completed, excuse me, your active duty commitment, but they added on to your reserves.
Hmm.
So that's what I did. I Palace chased and literally went from one side of the hallway, walked down to the other side because we shared the same hallway,
Yeah.
the same exact building, everything. And so it was amazing, an easy transition. Uh, I enjoyed my reserve career because I was so over the desk part of being a tanker guy.
Hmm.
I mean, I get it. I get the logistics. I get the scheduling. I get because I did all that. I get the training side. I get the stand eval side. I get it, but I don't like desks.
Yeah. No, I can't stand being at a desk.
Hey
So
man, how about this? How about I take your flight and you can stay right here at the desk? you know,
yeah.
I'd rather be in that plane, okay? And so that was what I did in the reserves, man. I was always going. People thought I was going to be home, dude. I was going more in the reserves than I was when I was on active duty.
I think that's what people don't understand is like so I did active duty for a little bit and then I did guard and now I'm a reservist but like
Yeah,
I've spent more time doing stuff overseas and actually doing mission stuff in the guard and the reserve than I ever did on active duty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And on top of that, you got to balance your civilian life and your actual job that pays your bills and, coordinate all those things and going back to school and all those other things. And I think people really underestimate what the Guard and the Reserve do for our military. It's actually 80% of our military is Guard and Reserve. You
Mm.
know what I mean? People don't understand that, and especially on the refueling side and cargo side, right? About a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
those guys, they're mostly reservists. Most of them are airline pilots and stuff like that,
Yep.
right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah, people don't understand that. Like the backbone of our military is mostly in our Guard and Reserves. So,
Yeah. And then once I started finding out, like, because I'm like, man, these guys are really good at their job and they know everything. And then you find out they're like 50 years old. And I'm like, holy crap. You've been doing this for a long time.
yeah, and they got the hours though. Like those guys got
But
thousands of hours of flying
dude,
time.
what was his I can't remember his hour count. It was like almost 14,000.
That's crazy.
And that's only military. He was a enlisted guy. He
Hmm.
wasn't even commercial. So that's all military. And I was like, holy shnikes. And last I checked, I think he's still in. But so that means he's still flying.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy. And when you go to, because I was an instructor as well, and I taught boom operator or in-flight refueling as it is called. Um, the minimum requirement flying hours to become an instructor is 700, right?
Hmm.
Well, when I went to school, guess how many hours I had?
How many?
701.
There you go.
Not making it up. Look, not making it up. I I was flown from Seymour Johnson. We went down to, I think it was Alabama, did a air refueling, and then flew to Oklahoma and landed. And I made 701 because of that flight.
Hey, standards are standards. Can't complain.
Yeah, but they got a ringing, dude. My squadron got a ringing that day because they literally closed my training folder that day I landed for school.
Perfect. See, you did it. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
No, it changed. Things started to change. They're like, no, you need to send that training folder before he gets here, not send
Yeah.
it with him. I was walking with it. But yeah, man, that's crazy. They actually did call me to the administrator office and say, "Hey, is this real?" And I'm looking down. I'm like, "Is what real?" He's like, "Is this your flying hour total?" I said, "Oh yeah, yeah." He said, "Did you get flown here yesterday?" I said, "Yes, I was just flown here yesterday." He said, "Okay, that's all I needed." And the next thing I know, he's following me, and then he walks past me and walks right into the office and picks up the phone. Yeah.
Yeah, Kijuan's trying to play the game here. It's like, yeah, don't hate me. I met the minimum hour requirements. You didn't say how I had to do it, but I did it. So
Hey,
what do I
listen,
tell you?
I didn't do it. I honestly felt like I wasn't ready, to
Hmm.
be honest. And so
But
that was
sometimes
my
that's when
squadron.
perform the best, though. I mean, I can't
Hmm.
tell you how many times I've seen people like, oh, you're not ready. Oh, you didn't meet this, and they just. It's the biggest thing I tell officers and stuff today is, give your people a chance, give them a shot, and you'll be amazed at what they can do for you if you give
Hmm.
them a little bit of leeway. Like when I was deployed, we had an S6 guy who's basically the networking guys. We lost our supercomputers, and the guy on his day job was a Google engineer, but he's an
Mm.
E4 in the National Guard,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, "Oh, this don't listen to this E4." This guy, I'm like, this guy makes $350,000 a year on the civilian side, and the guy literally programs networks for freaking Jeff Bezos, and you're gonna sit here and disregard his experience because he doesn't have the rank or some
Yeah.
arbitrary military training experience. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
And like, the guy's like, I could literally reprogram this entire network in CENTCOM. But I'll sit here and watch you
Yeah.
guys fail because you don't wanna trust and give me the ability to lead and show you what I can do just from my civilian experience, right?
Hmm.
So
Check my resume.
get over it. I was the
Yeah.
same thing. I was an oil and gas engineer, and I was deployed as an E4. You know what I mean? Like I was
Mm.
making like 10 times more than most of the people in country,
Right.
and I'm just sitting there going like, "Hey, man, you can't hate me because I'm 10 years older than you, and I actually have a civilian job and actually have life experience. But I may not have the rank, but I definitely have the life experience." Next thing I
Right.
know, I was briefing General Kurilla's G2 like every week, and I'm just like, "Yep, this is how it goes." Sorry.
Hmm.
And that also goes to leadership allowing you to do that though, because there's some officers or senior NCOs that you might have the experience, you might be the best troop, you might have all this, outside experience, but you don't have the technical resume in the military. and they completely disregard you, and they'll put somebody else who has the rank in there, but they don't have the experience, and then that's how units can fail too, right?
Right.
And I think that this goes along to, especially the transition our military is in now, is we want the best of the best, and we want to be able to allow people to show what they can do. I mean, it's kind of funny because like our new Secretary of Defense was only in '03. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
he's doing more right now than any other Secretary of Defense I've worked for since 2006. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And he's like out there training with special forces, and he's out there like actually bringing back standards for training and stuff, which I have not seen in 15 years. Like this is like a complete like, oh crap, we actually have to do stuff now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
before it was like, oh, we can get away with this. There was a waiver for
Yep.
that, and he's like, no, no, the standard is like the military. Everyone always says, oh, it's equal opportunity. No, well, it's not. It's not, because I know guys who couldn't get into the military because they had flat feet. You know what I
Right.
mean? So we want the best, most capable Americans to be able to serve in our military, and for a few years, especially even in the mid 2000s, it was wild. That was even before you got in, but like they were letting anyone and everyone join the military because they were so desperate to deploy guys to Iraq and just get blown up by V bids and stuff like that.
Hmm.
They like, hey, you want to take 10 years off your prison sentence? We got a job for you. It's called 11 Bravo Infantry.
Oh
We'll
boy.
send you over there. So it, it it's been an interesting environment because, like I said, I worked for Bush, I worked for Obama, I worked for Trump 1, and then Biden, and then Trump 2. What I mean? So they all have their positives and negatives, right? But at the end of
Hmm.
the day, we don't swear our allegiance to any individual. We swear our allegiance to the Constitution, right? And
Right.
and you have to just understand that sometimes the people that you get and the people that you lead and the people that you deal with is what you're going to get. And it's up to you, no matter what your rank is. You can either make this a really good experience, or you can make it miserable and take it personally with personalities, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes you get stuck with a bunch of dudes and gals who don't want to be there and are not motivated. I mean, seriously, man, I deployed. There was a girl who didn't know who Osama bin Laden was. We're sitting in CENTCOM, and I'm just like, what? And she's like, yeah, isn't he like the president of Jordan? I'm like, oh, for Pete's peppers. No, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you can either take that personally and make him do push-ups, or you can sit there and give him an education training class about, hey, this is why we've been in CENTCOM for 20 years.
Hmm.
After the first one back in the early 90s, there was another Gulf War in the 90s. Oh no, because you gotta understand that some of these everyone joined the military now for the most part. They were born after 2001, so they don't
Yeah.
understand. They don't know. So having leaders like in that middle management area who are in their 30s, the millennial guys, it's important for you to keep your guys motivated and understand that there's a purpose to the mission that you're doing, and understanding that everyone has different specialties and capabilities. Like you brought up, you were a drummer. You had some experience. Well, go smack that drum for the Air Force Band or
Hmm.
whatever you had to do for it, right? But like,
Yep.
it's understanding that your people are more capable than you think they are, and don't just hold them to some kind of standard just because their rank determines their abilities.
Yep. Exactly.
So, the biggest reason you're on this podcast is because you suffered a tragic accident, and that was something that you had to transition with in your life, and it was a huge impact. So, tell us your story about what had happened to you, and how that led you to where you are in your life now.
Yeah. So this would happen May 5th, 2017. What some might call Cinco de Mayo, I call my new life's journey because it changed everything. And I used to ride motorcycles. I'm afraid to even touch them now. It's not even because of the bike. It's just the memory.
Hmm.
I don't want to have any bad memories that come to mind at all. And so I would have to work for the reserves that night. It was actually a UTA weekend. And so I had my own business before that. So instead of me, going off active duty and then, trying to find a 9 to 5, I wanted to finish my degree out first because my ultimate goal was to become a pilot in the military and then do the commercial thing. That was my whole goal. So I wanted to use what I already had to kind of get what I wanted. And so I was going to school full time, had my own business named Kiwi Enterprise that I did website design and management, social media marketing, and photography. And then, of course, doing the reserve thing. Well, this one Friday evening, well, afternoon at this point, it was only like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I would be trying to, or not trying, I actually went to go take the pictures. I did go take the pictures. I went to go take the pictures for this website that I managed, which was actually my church's website. And it was to update their photos and stuff because they were out of date. They had added some nice things on the outside of the church that really, made it nice and things like that. So I was like, yeah, we need to update some stuff and whatnot. And so I did all that. But the ride on my motorcycle from my apartment to the church was only like 10 minutes.
Mhm.
And the reason I say, only like maybe 10 minutes is because those riders who know about riding know it was probably shorter. And so I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna get a little bit more of a ride in today. I think that was my first mistake. Should just went back home. And anywho, I take off to one of the spots that I usually always go, which is Jordan Lake in North Carolina for anybody who's been here and know the area. And I made it there fine. It's like a 30-minute ride there from where my church is or so. And got to that place with no problem. I mean, just relaxing, unwinding, and sitting on this little dock. And that's where I always went because it was free, first off. I'm not paying to go sit at a lake for 2 minutes, and
Yeah.
then go back home. But as I was sitting there, a car, because it was right beside the highway, the little freeway or whatever you want to call it. And so a car would come flying by, and I'm like, uh-oh. And so it startled me at first, and then I'm like, oh, what time is it? Oh yeah, I gotta get out of here. Let me hop back on the bike and jet out of here. So I got back on the bike and I'm riding down Highway 751. And I mean, when I tell you this was a beautiful day, I don't even know how else to describe it. It was amazing for North Carolina weather in May. And here in North Carolina, we have really tall trees when you're in the country areas.
Mhm.
And so I'm literally on a 2-lane road. It's the lane that I'm in and the lane that's going past me. That's it. No extra dirt, nothing. That's all you got. And trees everywhere. And so every now and then you might get a driveway or something, and then an intersection or a gas station. But in those types of areas, especially the intersections, the trees are cut back so that people can see the traffic that's coming. And as I'm riding, I have a Bluetooth headset, so I'm jamming out to some music, and then this car pulls out in front of me, a Honda Accord. And as I tell the story, I had 3 options. I can go right and go into the trees. I could go left and go into oncoming traffic, or I could do what ended up happening, and that's freezing up and hitting him.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, why didn't you just slow down? Why did you stop? Why did you stop? I was like, he pulled out in front of me. So how was I gonna know he was gonna do that? First off. Secondly, bikes don't just stop like that
No.
unless you hit something or you lock that front brake up, and then you're gonna fly either way. And so those even if you locked up the back brake, it's gonna make you slide. You're literally gonna be slick.
Yeah.
And so I say that because I've done it before. And so I'm like, what did I have to do? I had no real good options here,
Yeah.
and so a month and a day later, I'm waking up in the hospital, man, at UNC Chapel Hill after being life flighted there. And as I write in my book, Don't Focus on Why Me, I wrote in my book that nobody knew who I was for it's probably about 8 hours, man,
Mhm.
because they were trying to get a hold of people, but the address I still had on my license was a Goldsboro address where the base was. I lived in Durham now because I'm a reservist. So they sent a unit down to Uh, Goldsboro, where I used to live, they don't know me. It's somebody else that lives there now. And so, luckily, they still had my wallet and everything, and they found my military ID. So, well, maybe since he lives this close to the base, maybe that's the base he goes to, because it was an Air Force ID, and that was the only Air Force base in the local area.
Right.
Because Pope is about another hour and a half or so away. But anyway, they went over there, and that's how they got in touch with my family because they would go talk to, of course, the security forces and say, "Hey, does this airman belong to this base?" And that's how all of this snowball started to roll, man.
Hmm.
Yep. So my mom didn't even find out that I had been in an accident until 10 p.m. that night, and it happened at like 2 p.m. that day.
That's rough, man. I mean, I used to ride bikes too, and I will tell you, it's not most of the time. It's not the rider.
Right.
It's everybody else, man.
Hmm.
And I've almost gotten killed numerous times on my bike.
Yeah.
From people not looking, going through intersections and stuff. And yeah, you got to make that decision, left, right, or hit it head on and slide your bike out or whatever, man. And it's just, you know, it, it's tough because what happened to you is absolutely tragic, and
Yeah.
it changed your life forever, but what you've done with your life after that is instead of taking it as, a negative and, just feel sorry for me, you've completely changed your entire life around and turned it into something positive.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, loss of eyesight, traumatic brain injury, PTSD,
Hmm.
spinal cord infusion. So I got 2 rods and 12 screws in my back from L4 to T2. Broke both of my legs to include my femur on my right leg. So I metal rods everywhere. I just got a screw in my right foot. Dude, hey, don't take me through a metal detector. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But you want to know what, man?
What's that?
God made sure you're still here.
Oh yeah,
You know what I
I'm still
mean?
here for a reason.
Yeah, you are here for a reason.
Mhm.
So tell me like what your rehab was like, because that must have been one hell of an experience with all those devices in your body, waking up out of a coma. Now you can't see. Like what was that experience like of you adapting to your new sensory peripheral area around your life? How did you learn to so-called see your environment without being able to see it now?
Um, it, I'm gonna be honest, man. It was kind of like where do I go? Like, what do I do? Everything was a question at this point now. And unless somebody was showing me what to do, I didn't move. Like, unless you were able to tell me I'm not doing it. Because it wasn't that I didn't want to, I didn't know how.
Yeah.
Like, I felt so, literally, I felt like I was starting all over again, like starting life all over again. Because when you lose your sight and you've been seeing for 25 years, it's like, dude, this is literally a whole new world. And I'm still learning stuff till today. I'm
Yeah.
33 now. And so, uh, I, they had me. So this is when I started going down to the rehab facility inside of the hospital. And, they loved me when I came in there because I'm always one of those jokesters and being hype and doing all this extra stuff. I'm extra. I'm very extra. Uh, and so every time I come in, they're like, "Hey, look who it is," stuff like that. And so I was like, "Hey, listen, y'all need to turn the music up. I got to jam out in while I'm in here."
Yeah.
I'm just doing everything to make people laugh and everything, man. And then one day we get ready to go down there, and because like I said, I couldn't walk, so I'm in a wheelchair. Every time I go down there, somebody's wheeling me down there.
Hmm.
Well, this time we get outside my room, my hospital room, and I'm in the wheelchair, and I'm just sitting there. But I hear people walking away from me, and I'm like, okay, maybe they forgot something, you know. He's like, "Hey, Kijuan." I was like, "Yes." He's like, "Come on." I'm like, "What do you mean, come on? You're supposed to be pushing me." He's like, "No, we're not doing that today. You're gonna wheel yourself down to the fitness center." I said, "I'm gonna do what?" He said, "Yeah, no, come on, push yourself. We gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta make our time." I said, "If you come get me, we'll make it." Like
Yeah.
I am arguing up and down because I cannot see.
Yeah.
Like what are you talking about? Wheeling myself in a wheelchair down a hallway? Are you crazy? There are people walking through here, and there are walls on each side of me. And so anyway, he's like, "Dude, if you run into a wall, just back up and go the other way."
Oh yeah. Simple solution.
It's so easy, so easy. And he's like, I'm like, "Well, what about the people?" He's like, "Oh, I'm sure they'll get out of your way." I dude, none of this is going. It's like literally going in one ear out the other. And so he's like, "Well," and then I remember my girlfriend. She was there. I said, "Hey, will you grab this wheelchair and push me down the hallway, please? Because I don't feel like messing with him. He's gonna make me upset." And she was like, I can't." I was like, "Your hands broke or something?" Listen, this is getting bad, okay? Like, what's wrong with your hands? And she was like, "Nothing. He just asked me not to do it. He wants to see you do something."
Hmm.
And I was like, so I was like, "Okay, whatever. So where are you? I can't hear you." And he's like, "I'm over here." And so I'm like wheeling myself in the direction of his voice, doing my best. And I'm like, "All right, where are you now?" He's like, "Why are you rolling so slow? You look like an old man in that chair." And he's just saying anything he can just so I can hear his voice, and
That's
and
smart
then
though. Like he was
yeah,
like
yeah.
slowly starting to train your other senses, right? Like
Yes.
making
Yes.
you understand. So, and this had to have been interesting because like I don't know what this is like, but like how did the effectiveness of your other senses increase after that? You know what I mean? Like you must have such a different perspective on touch and taste and
Mhm.
smell and hearing. Like how did your body and your neurons in your brain adapt to those drastic changes of losing your eyesight? And what was that like? Like, I'm sure you can feel, smell, and taste things better than I can because I can't see them. So your body's adapting to it. So, like, what was that experience like retraining your brain to adapt to this new life of yours?
Well, I'm sorry. So I lost my eyesight, but I also lost the sense of smell because they did the reconstructive surgery to my face
Okay.
where they had to put two metal plates in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gone as well. But so taste, yes. Hearing, absolutely.
Yeah.
Luckily, I wore my headphones when I was on the plane because it would be messed up if I didn't. Like my hearing would be lost. So yeah, those two and touch. Oh yeah, definitely, definitely have the touch and my skin sensitivity as well. Because when
Right.
I go outside, I'm like, "Oh, we're in the sun," and they're like, "What?" I was like, "I feel the sun on my skin." They're
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, okay." Because I trust me, the difference. You
Yeah.
could tell the difference. Most people just see it. Well, I all I can do is feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, no, that stuff really does help out. And what when I got to the actual fitness center for the physical therapy that we were doing that day, he was like, "Guess what?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "We're here." I was like, "Okay." And guess what? I said, "What?" You pushed yourself. He's like, "You see what you can do when you just go along with the flow?"
Mm-hmm.
And he was teaching me a lesson, and I had no clue.
And I
You
think that's a
know?
lesson for like everyone.
Yeah.
You don't think you can do something. You think things are hard. You think things suck, and then oh, poor me. But it's just like, did you try?
Mhm.
Right? Are you going to do it? Are you going to take that first step? And I think that is such an important lesson that you're demonstrating to everyone is that, yeah, this is my situation, and what am I going to do about it?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I can either move forward or I can sit here and wait for someone to do it for me. And
Mhm.
you obviously took those first steps and you started making those inferences and those movements and you started adapting and learning again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man, for sure. So that and, learning how to walk, man, sheesh. That was the hardest thing to me was learning how to walk all over again.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that, it's kind of two parts. First off, all the surgeries. Of course, everybody can probably imagine that, all of the surgeries and stuff
Hmm.
that I had to deal with. But when we first start learning how to walk, we're like 20 pounds, 20 something pounds. Well, add another 120, 130 to that and see how easy it is.
Right.
That crap hurts,
Hmm.
especially when you've been in a bed for like a month, month and a half. You have not been on your feet. It is not easy at all.
Probably like those people that are trapped in the space station right now. They were supposed to go up there for 8 days, and they've been up there for like 9 months. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
They're going to probably collapse when they land. They won't
Well,
even probably
yeah.
be able to walk that much anymore because they've lost so much muscle mass and bone density from not being able to walk. And
Yeah.
that's
No,
probably a similar experience to what you had, was from, being bedridden and all the surgeries and all the recoveries, and you're losing so much muscle mass and bone density and plasticity in your muscles and everything else. I mean, that must have been impossibly difficult.
yeah. See, the other thing that people don't, I've actually learned about this from an actual astronaut. Um, he says if the bones and your joints and stuff, they expand. So they have to wait until their body actually slowly comes back together when they get back.
Hmm.
Because their spinal cord has expanded a little bit
Yeah, it's
since
going to
they've
be
been up
a
there.
fun ride for them.
I'm telling you, man. So when they come back, they're usually laying around for a while. They're not walking around, they're laying around,
Nope.
just allowing their body to kind of come back. Like that's where they go to the space station and everybody's doing what they do for them, all that stuff.
Almost like a
Yeah.
recompression chamber. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like they gotta like probably some kind of uh not barometric, yeah, barometric pressure,
Yeah.
kind of like a scuba diving, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but in reverse, pretty
Hmm.
much. So,
Yeah. It's interesting, but yeah. So I mean, learning how to do that stuff all over again. I had to retrain my right foot, the one that I said has the screw in it, because it was stuck in a flexed position. So I had to walk on the ball of my foot for the longest time.
hmm.
Now I could not, hear me clearly, I could not put my heel down. Not even if I wanted to. You can come flex it, they can come flex it, both of y'all can flex it together. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I had to train it to go back to where it is now. And for those who've already heard, I'm a drummer. Drummers use their right foot to kick the bass. So
Hmm.
I couldn't really do nothing with it for the longest until, physical therapy, like they kept working on it. And when I tell you they were working that thing, it's like they might as well have went in there and put some WD-40 on it and
Just cracking it back and forth.
yeah.
That's like, man, when I had my double leg surgery when I came back from deployment, like I had to kind of learn how to walk again too, because they were doing
Mm,
one leg at a time, and it was like 6 to 8 weeks per leg, and I was just like in so much pain of them breaking up all that scar tissue and moving things
yeah.
around and making sure that, I was like falling down the stairs and stuff. I couldn't even sit down and go to the bathroom. Like, yeah, I'm sure you
Oh
know what that's
man.
like too. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh man, this is not fun, like, at all.
Yeah. With the initial surgeries, I was out of it. Like I said, that whole first month, man, I know nothing,
Hmm.
from the coma. So if I'm using the bathroom, again, I know nothing of it, And then when I did come to, it was bedpan. It wasn't going in the restroom. It was bedpan and urinal. That's all I knew. I never got out of bed to go to the bathroom. The
Yeah.
first time I got out of bed was when they started, wheeling me down to the physical therapy. But I was like, "Hey, can I try to like take a shower or something? Because I'm tired of these little bird baths."
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, you want to take a shower?" It's like, "Yeah." Like if we got one in here, it's like, "Yeah, you got one." And so I went over into the shower, and they got the water on, right? And I'm like, "Okay, I'm ready to get out." They were like, "What's wrong?" I said, "It's cold. Where's the hot water?"
It's cold. It's cold plunge. We're just gonna throw you right in the cold plunge there.
Apparently, I'm like, "What? This is cold. There's nothing warm about this water." I said, "This is terrible, man. Y'all trying to hurt people in here." And so anyway, I got out of that water and I was like, "Do y'all have towels? Come on now. Speed this process up." I'm cool. Like, cause I'm literally way smaller than what I was as far as muscle, and weight. So
Yeah.
I get cold. I got cold really fast.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Because I have nothing to keep me warm. There's no fat. There's nothing. I'm skin and bones now.
Hmm.
And so anyway, I wasn't that big to begin with. I was I was 185 pounds before my accident. I played football. I played semi-professional football and flag football. We had to, of course, keep in shape for our PT tests and stuff, but I only took that once a year. So that told you what? That I was in good shape.
Hmm.
And then I played intramural basketball or just pick up games at the gym. I'm always at the gym lifting weights. So most of my makeup was muscle.
Right.
But when you're not moving, guess what you're losing? Muscle.
Yeah.
So all of that was gone. Now I'm just skinny bones.
And you got to work all that back. You know
I
what I
sure
mean? Like,
did.
and
I
it's
sure
a
did.
long time. Like it is not a fast process at all. I mean, heck,
Yeah.
I'm still recovering from. They took basically half the muscles out of the bottoms of my legs,
Oh
and I'm
man.
still recovering from that. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like they're like, well, you're never going to be running like a 7-minute mile ever again. I was like, all right, well, at least I can jog.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All right. Exactly. I said I don't want to anymore. Just put me on a waiver.
Yeah, put me on a waiver.
Yeah. So it's it's interesting to say the least because I'll be honest. I never thought what I'm doing now, like and which is adaptive sports. Man, I've been competing in powerlifting, cycling, archery, air rifle. Um,
So how
what
does
else?
that work?
What's that?
Archery and air rifle when you can't see what you're shooting at. Tell me what that's like. Hearing.
Headphones. They
That's
put an audible system on
Dude,
the
that is
target.
so cool.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is like
So,
amazing to me.
so I don't know if so for my listeners, air rifle it's like shooting pellets at a target, and this
Mhm.
target is so small, it's so itty bitty. Uh, if you make any move, you're gonna be way off. And so when I tell you I'm pretty much I was a marksman when I was in the military. So when I tell you I'm pretty spot on, the highest you can shoot on that target for air rifle is 11. So 11.0 because they do have a point system at the end, point
Mhm.
whatever system
Yep.
at the end, decimal. And so the highest I shot by myself now with this audio system that they had just got was a 10.7.
I couldn't shoot that with my eyes. That's pretty freaking amazing, man.
And that's
That's really
recorded. They
fantastic.
actually were recording me doing this too, because I was the only one to use it that had used it
Mhm.
when the Air Force acquired it. And when I say Air Force, I mean the Air Force Wounded Warriors program.
Right, right.
So
Now we're gonna put you in CSAR. You're gonna go back to AFSOC, and you're gonna be shooting at Haji's with an audio system.
hey, listen,
That's
I
what
watched
we're
that
gonna do
movie
now.
American Sniper.
Yeah, yeah. Just make Kijuan the sniper
Yep.
out of a helicopter platform. He got a 10.7 out of 11. Yep, this is a new ASVAB requirement. Throw him in there. He doesn't have eyes. No, he doesn't need him. No, he's fine. He's fine.
Oh,
Just give him a
we
minigun
got
too. Just give him a Dylan air cannon. Let's see what else that he could do.
yeah, man. No, seriously, I had an amazing time doing that, and I was on the news here in North Carolina, Spectrum News 14, and they have a another adaptive sports thing called Valor Games.
Hmm.
They pretty much invite uh, disabled veterans from all around, and they come to North Carolina, and we were doing archery outdoors at a Lake Crabtree. This is Lake Crabtree in Raleigh.
Okay.
So um I that day, because it's a 3-day event. The last day is where you go outside and do archery and cycling. Well, I did cycling first, so I'm tired. Like I am beyond tired because we do. Dang it, what is it? A 10K? I think it's a 10K. Anyway, so we do that, and then we eat lunch, and then we do archery. Okay, cool. Well, I didn't realize the camera crew was still there. I thought they were just watching for for cycling, because they had me mic'd up. And then they were still out there. And I'm out there, just honestly just shooting around just to be doing it. Because I wasn't doing this part for competition. I did the cycling part for comp.
Right.
And this was going to be my exhibition. And so I'm just shooting and all right. I was like, it was like, how's that feel? I said, still kind of a little bit of play in it. So he had to tighten up the bow. Always, I'm using a compound bow, and so pulling it back. I was like, all right, you're getting pretty good there. That's pretty good. And the guy is standing behind me, telling me where I'm at on the target.
Mhm.
And so he's like, up, down, right, right. Okay, a little bit right. All right, it's all you. Bullseye. I said, what? He said, you just hit a bullseye. I said,
That's so
yeah.
incredible. Like, that's
Dude, when
incredible,
I
man.
tell you everybody behind me was like going nuts because they saw the shot.
Dude, I can't do that. And like I said, I can see, and I can't do that. Like
It was
that's fantastic.
all I was
That's like
doing.
that's so motivating though to other people who are in similar disabilities as you,
Yeah,
right? Is that
yeah, yeah,
don't think you can't because I'm shooting bullseyes and I can't even see the target. So don't tell me
yeah.
you can't. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Like that's so motivating and such a positive message for people. Whether wounded warriors or even civilians who've been injured and had traumatic injuries and stuff like that. You're proving
Yeah.
that you can get out there and you can do these things. You just got to set your mind to it, right? And never quit.
Yep. And see, so what I tell people is don't look at what you can't do. Look at what you can do. So I
Yeah.
wasn't focused on the fact that I couldn't see. I was focused on the fact that I can stand up, I can hold this bow, and I can hear what you're saying to me.
Hmm.
Because that's all I needed. Those three things. And all I did was listen to him. He was like, it's all you. And I just released bullseye. And I'm like, all I did was listen. Everybody's like, how do you do that? How do you do that? I'm like,
Hey, guys, that's a
listen.
lesson for everybody out there. Listen, shut up, and listen. I mean, Kijuan just pretty much just told you all. Like, if you don't think you can't, maybe start listening to other people, and say less, listen more.
Yep.
That's just like
Yeah.
that's just good life advice right there. You know.
Yeah, man. For
So
sure.
so you do all these stuff. You recover from your horrific injury. You're now doing things basically a Paralympian in my mind at the rate you're going. I mean, watch out. This guy, he's kind of dangerous out there.
I
So how
almost
did
was. I almost was. They were trying to get me for rowing.
why not just throw him out there? What else you
I,
want to do? Let's just go skydiving. Let's just give him an airplane.
hey,
It's on for
I
you,
did
right?
skiing. That's close enough, right?
Yeah. So So how did you become the CEO of Amey Motivation? Like how did this whole company start? Like what was your inspiration for doing this and moving forward with all of that? Like I'm very fascinated to listen to how this all developed.
Well, see, honestly, and I gotta be honest because this story always has to play a part in this because we tend to negate things, and I can't. I've never ever wanted to be in front of people talking.
Mm,
Now I can clown all day and joke all day and be the life of the party with my family
mm,
all day, but in front of people I've never met in my life, that's a whole nother topic. Okay.
yeah.
So when I could see, oh, you wouldn't find me in front of anybody. And if I did, it's because they twisted my arm. That's literally it. The Air Force was like, you're going to do this. It's a part of your training. And I'm like, so that was the only reason you would ever find me in front of a camera, in front of a auditorium full of people, in front of anybody, because I was made to or forced to be that way. Now it's like I've taken what some people might call my disability and not being able to see, and I've turned it into an advantage. I
I
can't see
like
you
that.
at all.
It's not a disability, it's an advantage. I really like that.
Yeah, I can't see you at all. So I don't care what you're doing. I don't care how you look at me. I don't care what face you made. I don't care if you just walked out. Guess what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't phase me.
Right.
And so I literally um and I spoke at Seymour Johnson before I retired for the farewell ceremony for the KC-135 because they got the new tanker at Seymour Johnson.
The one that's still broken, the
Yeah,
KC-46.
that one is still being worked on. I think they need my help.
Yeah, I think you should just go back. I mean, obviously the people at Boeing are blind with the way how they're building airplanes over there. You could probably fix the Pegasus if you had a screwdriver and you put some earmuffs on. You probably still do a better job than what those guys are doing. There's not even parts inside the wings. They're fine. Like, did you see the one that was up in New Hampshire,
Okay.
and they were landing and the boom cable snapped.
What?
Brand new airplane. Brand new airplane. They go to land this 767. It hits the runway. The boom drops down and starts dragging millions of dollars of damage down the runway all the way. Good
Lord
luck with that
Jesus.
spot walk, boys. Have fun with
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, no, the only time I've seen that is when the boom left it down, not because the cable snapped. That is crazy, man. Yeah, no, I never wanted to, honestly, and I have to say this too. I never wanted to be on that plane
Mm-hmm.
because they were talking about it for a while before we ever got it. They were talking
Yeah.
about when I was still in school.
Yeah. Everything's 20 years behind.
Exactly.
Like the F-22, the newest greatest thing. It was built in the 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like.
Yep. 90s and the early 2000s. Yep. But anyway,
it came in service in 2006. The year I started at the Air Force Academy was the year that the F-22 started. So, but it was still like 20 years in development prior to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. So I never wanted any parts of it. I said, they were like, you don't want to, sit up, right? I was like, if I wanted that, I would go be on the KC-10.
You never want to be in the brand new thing in the military.
No,
the tires are gonna blow. Something's gonna break. Something's gonna go on fire. Like every time. Same thing with like the F-35. They brought the F-35 online. That thing. People have had to eject out of that thing. I think the engines are going on fire. Like it's just falling out of the sky. There was one in Alaska a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
He was kind of coming for landing. You see the pilot pull the ejection seat and pops himself out. And this guy, the plane just falls out of the sky. You know what I mean? So maybe just wait for the B or the C model.
Exactly. I'm like, yeah, nah, I'm good. I've actually had to do air refueling on those to test their air refueling systems. Dude, we were sitting on the ground so long waiting on that thing to get ready.
Yeah.
So long. Because you remember how you talked about logistics. There was a time frame at which we thought you all would be ready. Well, here's 2 or 3 hours later. You're still not ready.
And they want to get rid of the A-10. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
That thing works. You could actually shoot it a bunch, and it still works.
Uh-huh.
You shoot the F-35, that thing's down for 8 months. You know, you put a 9 mil on the side of that thing. No, $20 billion worth of damage or something ridiculous like that. You know?
Yeah, you shoot it down. You shoot it down, and all you hear is the Miss Pac-Man. Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah. It's like the like the Microsoft Windows shutting off. That's what the pilots hear inside that airplane all the time. Yeah, man. Never flying the newest thing or driving the newest thing in the Army, the Marine Corps, the Navy. Like they say it's government, quality. Well, that doesn't mean it's good. Built on the lowest bidder. So
yeah, government issued. Back to me getting started, man. What really drove it was kind of like how I talk to people. So for like example, me and you're talking one-on-one.
Right.
I was doing this, just family, friends, anybody who would come over to visit me, and they're like, man, your story is so powerful, man. Like, so powerful and impactful. And dude, how do you keep living? I mean, you're just smiling and like nothing's wrong. I said, dude, if I wanted to have a pity party, I probably wouldn't be as far as I am.
Yeah.
Because if you wallow in that self-pity, man, you're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm already feeling crazy as it is. I don't want to make myself crazier.
Yeah.
And so, then people kept telling me, dude, you should write a book. So that was the first thing I did. I mean, well, I take that back. I started writing it because it was in my head that I was writing it. And what I mean by that is before you really physically write a book, you're writing it in your head.
Yeah.
And so since May 5th of 2017, I've been writing this book because that's when the accident occurred. And I didn't fully get it, or start physically writing it until October of 2020. And it was printed in June of 2021. But the motivational speaking started in 2019. And that was when I did my first, I guess you say major one. I had a packed house, man. I mean, full. It's probably like 200 something people. And just to tell my story of why not me, that was the title of it. Why not me?
Yeah.
Because anybody can ask the question of why me, but can you answer the question of why not you? And so that was what I was telling people, how the why not me was what got me here. And how I can still keep moving forward and pushing forward in life. And Amey Motivation came about because that was the motivation I felt I had. Mm-hmm. That last name because that's where I left off with the military, that last name, Amy, and then the motivation that I was using to empower other people. And so I might have been ripped out of the military because I definitely was. I was ripped out, man. I didn't want to leave. And so that's why I put the Amy on top of that, Amy motivation, because
Mm.
I was ripped out of the military. That's what we were known by, our last names. So, and then I impact people with my motivation on a daily basis. So,
Yeah, I mean that's writing a book is really really difficult. Like I've been writing a book for my case and all the advocacy work I've been doing in the military for the last 15 years. And
mhm.
you know, for you to be able to come back and write about your story and be vulnerable, you know, and share with people that, you know, why not me? That's such a interesting question and perspective that really makes people think twice about how to approach these difficulties in life.
Mhm.
And you're living proof of how to make all those things work and everything else. So tell me about some of the groups you've been able to talk to and what you're doing now to get your story out there and motivate others to understand everything that you've been writing about and everything that you've been talking about for the last several years.
Yeah, man. I definitely speak to, like I said, my first event was actually at church. So I was speaking to churches, schools, high schools. I've spoken to my high school, my alma mater, but also other schools in Durham, North Carolina. Looking to break into the college scene is in one day, to get on their stages. And now I'm doing corporate, so like Wells Fargo and different businesses like that. Um, and Here, what, in May of this year, I'll be hosting my own event
Hmm.
where I'm talking about the will to overcome. Because we can all say we're going to overcome, but do you have the will? And
Right.
will stands for win in life's lessons. That's what I created that acronym, where how to win in life's lessons in order to overcome adversity or hardship.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll be teaching on May 3rd, 2025 in North Carolina. So yeah, I mean, man, I just I try to they want you to, narrow that group who you talk to down. And I'm like, I don't know how to, because I feel like this can be used for anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through something. Everybody's been through a hardship, regardless of what you say. You know, um, and so if you don't think it can help you, I don't want to talk to you. I'm gonna be honest, because that means I would never break through to you anyway. Your mind is already set. You're already fixated on you got this on your own.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You got it. Do what you can do. I'm going to go help the people who actually want to be helped, because that's who I'm looking for. People who want to be helped.
And that's such an important concept that people don't understand is like, you know, a lot of people need help. But the thing is,
Mhm.
it's okay to ask.
Mhm.
It's okay to ask for help. You know what I mean? And so many
Yeah.
people are they have too much pride or they're too embarrassed to say, "Hey, I need a helping hand. Hey,
Yeah.
I need some guidance here." You know, and you're a product of I need help.
Yeah.
And then you're shooting a 10 at point 7 out of 11 on air rifle and you're shooting arrows and you can't
Yeah.
see anything, you know, and you're writing a book and then you're showing those life lessons to other people. And that's, I think, one of the most powerful impacts of your story. It's okay to ask for help because when you do, you could become 10 times more than you ever thought you could be.
Mhm. And every time somebody mentions the word, ask for help, or the phrase ask for help, I always go back to grade school, K through 12. When we had a question, when we wanted to ask something, what did we do? We raised our hand. What happened to us asking questions? Because we were taught that like as
Yeah.
little kids. Now we're like, oh no, I figured it out. We got this. I got this. I figured it out. What happened to being the person who just like, okay, I don't understand. I need some help. I'll just ask. What's wrong with that? Like, where did we turn down this road that says that's a bad idea? It's actually the best idea I've ever had is to ask somebody for help or ask somebody how to do something. Because I've gotten way further along in my life by asking.
Yeah, exactly.
I've gotten so much further in life by asking because you don't know everything, but somebody else might know. And if they don't know it, they might know somebody who knows it. So and then you got this. I don't know if you ever heard of 5 degrees of separation,
Yeah. Hmm.
but that might work for you. And now you got a whole new circle that is just you guys are amazingly smart together versus one who just was stubborn and didn't want to ask a question.
And that's such a powerful message, man. So so moving from here, where can people reach out to you? Where can people find you? Where can people connect with you to bring you out there so you can tell your story? Where can they find your book? Like how can people learn more about what you're doing at Amy Motivation?
Absolutely. So they can go to my website, amymotivation.com. That is AMEY motivation.com. On there, you can find my social media handles such as Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. And I do have some videos on there as well that you could check out, such as a speaking engagement. And I believe I also have some of my drum videos. I just threw some up there for you guys to listen to. And then for my book, you can also find it on there. Don't focus on why me from motorcycle accident to miracle. And if you don't like the paperback version, I do have the audio version, so you can find it on Audible and Apple Books. And then if you want to book me for a conference or an event, so any type of speaking engagement that you have coming up, feel free to go on there because I do have a book me link.
Dude, that's awesome. I hope everyone reaches out to you, and when I'll let you know in a couple weeks when this episode posts. But I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show today, Kijuan, and
Yeah.
telling me your story. It's inspired me to maybe stop complaining about the things that are going wrong when I don't think they can, right? And how I can do better, and how we all need to have the courage to ask for help, and we can be stronger together. We can do other things, and just because God takes away your eyesight doesn't mean that you can't have a massively positive impact on other people's lives by doing other things for other people. And I think you have made such a significant difference in so many people's lives. And that's why you're so loved and so honored in what you're doing.
Exactly. And again, Adam, I truly appreciate it, and it was my pleasure.
No, thank you so much. Hang on for a minute while we close the show out, and then we'll talk for a little bit. Stand by.